I'm 68 years old. I was born in Winnipeg, but given up for adoption before I was 1 year old. I always knew that I was adopted. My mother made sure that she told me before I was 4 years old. I've never met my birth mother, and I've always wondered about her. What I do know is that she was very young when I was born, and her father was a high school principal. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty certain that her father told her to put me up for adoption because things were different back then, and there was more social pressure. I have a brother who's younger than me. He was adopted too, and he has no interest in knowing his birth mother.
Okay.
I had a pretty good life living in Deloraine with my adopted mother and father. My father was a farmer, but he'd always really wanted to be a doctor, and I think that made him so hard to get along with. He wasn't a good farmer. My family tried different denominations of churches, and when I was 16, I attended a Seventh-day Adventist school in Alberta. I was expected to get up every morning at 4 and milk the cows, and then I had to put on a white shirt to attend chapel. I don't go to the Seventh-day Adventist church anymore. I thought my parents were overprotective, and I wanted to find out if they were right about all the things they told me about the world. The world was worse than they told me. I didn't know anything about what to look out for or what to expect in the city. There were so many people compared to what I was used to, and so many things I didn't understand. I went to Edmonton, fell in with a bad crowd. I hung out around 97th Street, which would be like the hotel zone on North Main here in Winnipeg. For me, it was one big adventure, and I didn't realize what damage I was doing to myself. Alcohol, very easy to find. The people I met with were always willing to get me alcohol to drink. They introduced me to a lot of experiences. One night I drank too much, and when I walked into the kitchen, everyone laughed at me because I had rouge on my face. I don't remember anything about the night before. I tried all kinds of jobs. It seems I changed jobs every 2 weeks. I was working as a day laborer, and you never know what kind of job you're going to get. Sometimes I didn't have the manual dexterity to do the job, but I couldn't turn down the work because it would mean no money. I needed money to buy alcohol. I tried working in warehouses, in a bakery, on a farm, to name a few. I usually got fired or I quit. I had a short temper, and I didn't have it under control. I moved home again to finish my grade 12. I did it through correspondence. I wasn't getting along any better with my dad, so I decided to leave home again. My dad and I really didn't communicate. He was very involved in his community, but not with his family. When he died, there were so many people at his funeral, but for me, I didn't really feel much of anything because we didn't communicate or have our relationships. When I was 21, I moved out again and signed on with the CN in Brandon. I worked there for 6 months. I drank a lot and drank mostly alone. My family worried about me because they didn't know where I was or whether I was safe. I attempted suicide 3 times. My depression was overwhelming. I decided I was going to kill myself with pills and alcohol. I ended up in a psychiatric ward because I was suicidal and I was overusing prescription pills. I was supposed to stay in the hospital for a while, but I was still drinking, and I thought I needed to drink more than I needed help. When I found some money, I left and started drinking again. I'm better able to deal with my depression now. I'll go to a meeting or I'll talk to friends. My temper got me in trouble. I got barred from the Concord Hotel from getting into a fight, and when I ran out of money, I could do whatever it took to get some more. I admit I was very dishonest, and that still bothers me. I'd borrow money and not pay it back, and if I needed to, I'd steal it. At 28, I decided I needed to quit drinking. I went to AA meetings for 3 years before I stayed sober, but I've been sober ever since. I still go to AA meetings. I wish I'd never started drinking, but I've been able to help others with their drinking problems because of it. I never married. I fell in love once, but her mother wouldn't let her marry me. I wasn't drinking at the time we were together, but when her mother said we couldn't be together, I used that as an excuse to drink again. I guess that just made her mother think she was right all along about me. I was close to my mom. We had a chance to reconcile after I quit drinking, and we shared many, many good years of good relationship together. My mom made a real effort to communicate. She said her family didn't communicate when she was growing up, and she didn't want that with her children. When my mom died, it was the first time I experienced grief. Her death was hard on me. My brother, he did well for himself. He had a good job. He was adopted too, but had no interest in getting to know who his birth mother was. He lives in Alberta and owns his own insurance agency in Medicine Hat. His business has grown, and he's got enough money to vacation in Mexico. This year I learned how to use the computer at the Oak Table, and I was able to email him. It was nice to hear that he's doing well. Giving up drinking was not the end of my addictions. In 1993, I started to gamble. I always thought I was on the verge of a big win, and I would take my bank card with me and gamble until all my money was gone. A couple of times I won $1,000, but I lost so much more than that to win. One afternoon I lost $1,500. Sometimes I would spend my whole paycheck on gambling. I never felt good when I spend all my money. I get quite angry at myself. I'm still gambling. I haven't been to a meeting for a while. Just a few weeks back, I dug into my line of credit. I keep trying to win my money back even though I know I'll lose more than I win. The reason I don't go to meetings is because I think I'm not there yet in deciding to quit. I know it's bad for me, and I always feel bad when I gamble too much. I know I should go to the meetings, even if it takes me a while to make the decision to quit. But listening to other people's stories sometimes just gives me some new tricks I hadn't thought of to keep on gambling. I didn't lose time from work because of gambling, but I did gamble instead of looking for work. Because I was single, gambling only had an effect on me and my personal reputation. It did impact my reputation because I did things I wouldn't normally do in order to get money for gambling. I'm not a thief or a cheat, but gambling made me steal. I felt very guilty afterwards. I did gamble to get money to pay debts. I always thought gambling was the way to improve my financial situation. I lost much more money than I won. I usually lost my winnings and gamble until I lost my last dollar. I then go looking for more money. I used my credit card to finance gambling and sold my TV for money to gamble with. I nearly always gambled longer than I had planned and used gambling to escape worry or trouble. Emotional upsets are a trigger for me. If I am upset, I get the urge to gamble. But I always used gambling to celebrate anything good that happened to me as well. Basically, anything became a reason or excuse to gamble. When I was growing up, my family tried lots of different churches. They became Seventh-day Adventists, who believe you must follow the Old Testament as the way to receive salvation. Attending church on Saturday prevented them from being marked by the sign of the beast. There were lots of rules. I'm not a Seventh-day Adventist anymore. I believe salvation is a gift and love your neighbor as yourself. I have regrets. Sometimes I think I should have done more with my life and wish I had a career. When I retired, I started to feel useless, so I wanted to volunteer. I volunteer at Agape Table 2 mornings a week, and they really appreciate me there. They tell me it too. Working there has restored my sense of self-worth. It's something I stick to and haven't quit. That's important to me. I like coming to Oak Table. I can always find someone to talk to there. I like the fellowship and the food. It's quiet there, and I'm always greeted by name when I come in. I want to live my life with a positive attitude, and a place like this helps me do that. I wasn't sure I wanted to tell my story. I'm not proud of some of the things I've done in my life and wish I had done some things that I didn't do. It bothers me to talk about how stupid I was and how little I knew about the world. I do think, though, that by telling it, someone else might be helped. For me, I need to surrender to my higher power each and every day. Every morning I ask for the ability not to gamble and not to drink. Some days I need to surrender many times throughout the day. I need to go to meetings and ask for help and have fellowship with those who are in recovery. This gives me support and gives me a goal. It always shows me what can happen if I don't stay on the road to recovery.